Rich Eisen, you're on your own show. Welcome to it. Of all the advice you got, was there anything that rang louder and clearer above all the others, or is it just a big garbled mess right now?
It's a big garbled mess, Josh.
Oh, good.
It's a huge garbled mess. But that was my nickname in high school, huge garbled mess. And also the name of my fantasy team in the last couple of years.
Great
so
band name,
it sort
too.
of fits.
Yeah,
it sort of fits. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm trying
How do you find the accommodations there, Josh?
Well, they're easy to find. They sent a car. And once I was here, it's fantastic. No, I mean, all kidding and nut-busting aside here, well, what a great crew you have assembled. This is phenomenal.
Listen, the Chris Command Center is always there, always trusty. Well, that's not true. But they're always there, and that's not true either.
No, they're mostly there.
What am I saying? What am I saying?
Well, you're addled from the cold is all I can figure.
I'm glad. Thank you for being there today.
No, my pleasure. It's an absolute thrill to peek inside the hot dog factory and see how the hot dogs are made.
Yes.
So serious business. What is the current Fahrenheit in Indianapolis? Are you going to survive this?
It's 0, and by the way, that is true. It is 0 degrees. It's pretty cold outside, but thankfully everything is warm in here. I am inside Lucas Oil Stadium right now. Marcus Mariota is meeting with the media right now. Over 1,100 credentials given out to this event. For most of those 1,100 credentialed members of the media, they won't be able to eyeball anything except people at a podium. They're not allowed inside the actual arena. But the theater itself is going down right now as Mariota is meeting with the media. Just confirmed that he is, in fact, throwing on Saturday. Jameis Winston is expected within the hour to get up there at the podium. And the big news of the day was the Winston weigh-in that everybody was looking forward to, certainly with the photograph that clanked around social media that his camp said was taken mid-January,
right?
Of him looking a touch plump, working out without his shirt on, and he weighed in at 231, which can be viewed in many different ways. One is, that is good for him because it wasn't a picture of a 231-pound kid that we saw clanking around social media last weekend. That said, his camp is touting the fact that that is a 17 or 18-pound weight drop from what he was at the end of the season, which a lot of evaluators will look at and say, well, wait a minute. He was playing football as a 250-pound quarterback. What was he doing that for?
Yes.
So, it goes back and forth, Josh. That's why it's called evaluation, because there's some who have a certain view of it one way and certain another way. And part of the issue here at the Combine that a lot of people look forward to is the interview process. Part of the Combine, not the issue, and the interview process that'll go down with the media with Winston shortly, and that'll be much anticipated and listened to, no doubt.
Well, when Jared Lorenzen is sending tweets about how fat you look, I mean, something's wrong.
No.
But so
yeah, the hefty lefty shouldn't be able to chime in on anybody's weight.
You wouldn't think, but Rich, I want to ask you, because besides Winston, there are all kinds of other stories out there in this naked city, so to speak, about, and I'm talking about redemption type of stories, guys that have something to prove, whether it's a Dorial Green Beckham or a Carlos Williams or Marcus Peters or Frank Clark or Tevin McDonald. I mean, there's a lot of guys who I guess can seize this opportunity, right, to kind of show, like Jameis Winston, I'm not who you think I am.
Well, those guys are that you mentioned need to prove it in the interview room more than anything else, because you just went through the red flag parade, and a guy from my alma mater, Frank Clark, has got the biggest one to deal with because, as we all know, domestic violence and domestic abuse is something that the NFL dealt with all season long, that issue, and that is what he got kicked off of Michigan for. And, long story short, those kids are all going to have to prove in the interview room that they're to be trusted. And they all have different issues of varying degrees. I guess we can lump them all together because they do have off-the-field questions in regards to why they got kicked off of teams or why they were in the wrong part of the newspaper. So yeah, I mean, it is in many ways potentially a fresh start for these young men, but what they've dealt with in the past is all going to be quizzed of them, not only here if they do get interviewed by teams at the Combine, but when they are brought in by other teams, or they have their teams have their security staff poking around their lives. That's all to be expected.
Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen Show. How about that? Can hang through the break, right, Rich? We'll bring you right back in just a second. I know
the clock very well.
I'm sure you do.
Very well. No problem.
I have to go away for a moment. I need to ask you about your burgeoning 40 time and get you to weigh in on today's poll question as well. So stick around. Rich is going to do that. We invite you to do the same on the Rich Eisen Show. Josh Lewin in for Rich Eisen, who's at the Combine. This is the Rich Eisen Show, and Rich Eisen is on the telephone calling from Indianapolis so we can talk about, well, Indianapolis-related things, not just shrimp. But did Grigson talk, Rich? What's up with that?
Yeah, the general manager of the Colts just had his time up at the podium and basically said that they did alert the NFL prior to the AFC Championship game that they thought something was going on with the footballs. Again, my stance on this whole thing ever since the very beginning is let's wait to hear this report. I don't know what to make of any of this, except for the fact that I think it is mostly about air, and until it's proven otherwise, I think this is totally much ado about nothing. Let's not conflate the two issues. Rules are rules, yes. We need to figure out if they were broken for sure. But in the meantime, after these footballs were supposedly found to be underinflated, we still don't know by how much or how many were. The Colts got destroyed. And then in a Super Bowl where the footballs were handled completely differently than any other process under lock and key, essentially, Brady set records. So that was what was said by Ryan Grigson moments ago. And like I said, Mariota's up there, and he just said something, interesting, that he's been working out with Phillip Rivers, and Kevin O'Connell was just hired by the new quarterback as a new QB coach in Cleveland. And, he's being quizzed about if he thinks he's the #1 guy, and of course he says he is. That's exactly what is happening in real time at the Combine right now.
All right, well, since you just mentioned Cleveland, we've been talking about another suffix gate. This one is Textgate with Ray Farmer, yes. and Farmer's addressed it now, and Pettine's addressed it now. So where does that go from here? Does it just shut up, or is it still going?
No, I mean, the league is going to definitely hand down some sort of punishment. I don't know what it is, but, the punishment within the walls of the place for Ray Farmer was not losing his gig. That I think we have had that established, and that there's a certain level of trust between him and his head coach that he felt that it appears that the Browns have felt that he had to reestablish. And Pettine had an incredible press availability yesterday as I was making my way out to Indianapolis after we went off the air on yesterday's show. I mean, he couldn't have been more honest, saying that he's visited with Johnny Manziel and keeping that private, but that he's in a better place mentally than he saw him the last time, and that Ray Farmer, he wasn't thrilled about that, nor was he thrilled about their former receiver coach, going out with Josh Gordon and drinking with him, and I mean, there's lots going on with the Browns, to say the least. But Ray Farmer's going to keep his gig. That's the one, I guess, headline in that regard.
Hey, real quick, because Brockman's got to go a little early today. I wanted you to be able to say goodbye to your good friend Chris Brockman before he has to leave. And also, if there's anything that you, the Chris's, want to say to Rich in terms of 40 prep, and we're getting pretty close here to where this is actually going to happen. Rich, where are you in terms of the full body experience of all this here? Are you limber? Are you live?
Well, thanks for asking. I believe I was told I'm sitting here in the green room at the NFL Network, and I'm looking at one of our top producers here, Mike Muriano, who's across the way. Live, was that the word that you used to describe me when you first saw me? Was lean, live? How would you use to describe me, Mike? I mean, I don't know if you can hear him. Slender. Slender was the word that he used. Slender and ready is what it looked like when I walked into the production meeting, and then had to, and then turn things over to Mayock.
Well, it beats dumpy and slovenly. I'll give you that.
Yes, it does. But I just let you know. I mean, I went out there just moments ago, and I tweeted and Instagrammed out the photograph. I had a moment with my money line. I went out there. to the 40-yard dash and had a moment and visualized greatness, Josh.
Isn't it bad luck to take a look a couple days before?
That's wedding.
Well, I mean, I did see Susan in her wedding dress before the wedding, and that seems to have worked out.
Do we?
Well, she did have some advice, Rich, and
what is that? What is
break
that?
5.98 or don't bother coming home.
Damn, son! Wow, really?
Now, Brockman. Now, as you heard earlier in this segment, or the previous segment, that everyone's giving me something to visualize to get faster, right? Like, imagine like a dog or a cheetah's chasing or something like that.
Right.
Now, what better motivation do I have than that?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
To run faster.
You don't want to come home next week and the locks are changed.
Boy, so much riding on this 40 all of a sudden.
There is, man. There's a lot going on.
All right,
but, you know, we're raising money for St. Jude, which is a great thing, and everybody's having fun with it here. So hopefully everyone can go to Run Rich Run, NFL.com/RunRichRun. There's still time to put the videos up. The commissioner put his up there, running in casual Friday clothes, by the way.
Right.
Not a suit and tie. Let's not compare and contrast. Even though he did run a sub-6, his video's up there. Everyone should put their videos up there and click on that donate button for St. Jude.
No, it's such a wonderful process, and the fact that the time has gone down or stayed even every year, I think, shows that you're
a fine wine.
You're ripening on the vine. That's exactly right. You're not turning the vinegar on us here.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Yep.
Before you leave, unfortunately, you missed the greatness of Keith Hernandez and Kenny Bania on the same program here today.
Well done.
Well, and we had our poll question that we're going to get to result-wise in just a moment. But of the sub-characters, I was stunned that Babu Bhatt didn't make the cut on our list to even get on there. But
yeah, Rich, with Bania on, we wanted to know who the best Seinfeld recurring character was. Newman doesn't count. Newman doesn't count because he was on too many, but we're talking David Puddy, Jackie Childs.
Jackie Childs, end of story.
Jay Peterman.
Drop the mic, Jay
Peterman, Kenny Bania, or Tim Whatley.
Well, Tim Whatley, you're going on the Breaking Bad on me right there.
We did.
You know, and the Tim Whatley episode where he was telling Jewish jokes after having just converted to Judaism.
You can't be an anti-dentite here, right?
As well. The anti-dentite is also the yada, yada, yada episode. It's one of the all-time great moments when Jerry goes into confession and sits on the kneeling bar.
Right.
And the priest says, after hearing Jerry complain about this, that this offends him as a Jewish person, and his answer says, no, this offends me as a comedian. It's one of the laugh-out-loud lines in Seinfeld history. That said, Jackie Childs asking Kramer, who told you to put the bomb on, is one of my favorite Seinfeld
if it does not fit, you must acquit.
Sub-regular characters.
Jackie Childs, third place at 12%. David Puddy, 49%. Runs away with the poll question over Jay Peterman and Jackie Childs.
Vegetable lasagna episode, very underrated as well.
Indeed. And Rich, I'm sure it doesn't feel like an Arby's night. I'm sure you'll be having shrimp. And in that regard, we hope they're descaled and plump and beautiful, and that you enjoy them, and that it doesn't weigh you down because you're like T-minus 72 hours now from your 40.
I've come too far to get loose here now, Josh. I've come too far. I'm focused. I'm ready to go.
I love it.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.